Welcome in then to the latest edition of Extra Time. Shaka, Hislop, Marcotti and Stevie Nicol with us. Stevie, first question for you. Does Stevie think that Liverpool need a new throwing coach? They scored 4 today.
Yeah.
They conceded from a throw-in, didn't they, today? What does that mean? Does he have any influence in the defending of a throw-in?
Oh, no. Just going that way.
Right.
No, doesn't matter about that, No, I don't do that. I go that way.
All right, okay. Lots of Liverpool.
By the way.
Yes?
By the way, Gab, has anybody else got a throwing coach in the Premier League?
There is only one Gronemark in existence.
Yep.
So, no, but you know, you joke about this, but I was speaking to somebody who met with him recently, and he has people who are continually trying to go and copy what he does, you know, trying to get secrets because they figure it can't be rocket science, right? So there's got to be a way to be as effective, whether it's the throwing techniques, the moving off the ball. So he's always coming up with new material to stay ahead of the curve. You know, like those urban stand-up comedians. You know, you don't want people ripping off your stuff, Stevie.
You're just trolling Stevie now.
He's coming up with new stuff, yeah, right?
Stevie, do Liverpool need to find a replacement?
Hey, hold on.
See,
Hey,
I
we've
knew
got
it.
a new winner. Okay, here's what we do, lads. I want you to face the stand and throw it that way.
Is that allowed?
Do you think that'll catch on, Gab?
Stevie,
I'm not biting.
do you need to find a replacement for Firmino? He looked like the worst player on the pitch.
Ooh. No, I think the closer to the goal he gets, the more he seems to be tightening up. He certainly looked gun shy. I mean, he was through right at the very start of the game. Should have dinked it. Should have at least had a shot at goal. Tried to cut it back, and then the one in the second half when he was through right in the middle of the goal, and he hit it with the outside of his foot, and it was actually going wide. It hit somebody on the way, but it was actually going wide. He just looks terrified when he gets close to goal. Now, his other play's great, as we know, but I mean, there's only so long you can keep missing chances like the ones he's had today.
For Gab, despite being the inspiration for many top managers and being known for his tactical prowess, why hasn't Bielsa managed at a really top club and has failed to win notable silverware?
I think I'll give you the straight answer. The reality is a lot of people are put off by his personality, in the sense that they don't quite know what to make of him. And when I say people, I mean, you know, club owners, decision makers. He's so much his own man. And there's a certain unpredictability to him. I think in some ways, if you go back, there was a turning point in Bielsa's career, which was probably 2002 at the World Cup, where everything blew up in his face. Had he pulled that off, had he won the World Cup, maybe Bielsa would have chilled out a bit. Maybe would have been, you know, less eccentric to some, and maybe from there he goes on and he manages a string of super clubs in Europe and goes and wins everything. Now that it never got to that point, and I think he's been seen by somebody who is perhaps too much of a gamble, which is why, you know, again, you saw him at clubs like Marseille and Athletic Bilbao, and, you know, not PSG or Real Madrid, and then even when he gets to England, it's got to be at Leeds and whatever. That's why he went to Chile and laid the foundation for that great Chile side that won the Copa America. It's the way I think other people almost fear him because he's so different. And let's not forget, he's also somebody who's walked out on jobs on more than one occasion. And he gives you the impression that he's there for the football and doesn't care about the politics. And sometimes as a manager, you got to do a bit of both.
Shaka, what piece or pieces does Arteta need to add in order for them to be considered serious contenders? Brilliant for performance today, sends a message, doesn't it?
It does. It was a great performance, and as I said before during the show, the caveat being that I was against Fulham. What pieces they need to add? I'm still not 100% certain about them at the back. They weren't tested today. I'm still not 100% convinced by Leno. Didn't have anything to do today. So we will see how they progress. I think they've improved on where they were, but still not I still don't see them challenging anywhere near the top. Still a lot of work for Arteta to do.
Is that you making a noise, Gab?
Yeah, I mean, it looks really impressive. It's like they're building on what they did before. But again, today you had El Neni starting in midfield, which a few people would have expected in the summer. They assumed he'd be loaned out or he'd be sold again. Now obviously we assume El Neni's not going to start there the whole year, but already the next game, whether Dani Ceballos comes in or whatever, it's going to be different because Dani Ceballos is a very different player from El Neni. There's no Shaka, there's no Martinelli anywhere, and as we said on the show, there's no Pepe either. So I think we're going to this Arsenal are still very much a work in progress, evolving towards something, which is why I think it's risky to draw any deep conclusions from the win over Fulham.
Stevie, after your first training session, meeting or match, could you tell how good or bad your team would be for the year? Meaning like a gut feeling or something in that vein. Stevie, could you tell us as a coach also you ever completely wrong after the year had ended?
No, I can't honestly say I was surprised. Yeah, you definitely do get a gut feeling, and I can't honestly say that I was ever wrong. The first game I took charge of the Revs, the second time, I thought we had good players, but we just had a lack of belief, and then from there we added good players. And by the time my last year there, at the start of the year, I knew we weren't very good, and I knew I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't change it. I couldn't bring in players that were better than the ones we had, and I knew it was going to be a struggle. And it wasn't a surprise to me when I ended up losing my job at the Revs. So no, you definitely get a gut feeling, but I was never wrong. Unfortunately, I was definitely. I wish I'd been wrong the last year I was there.
Shaka, when you were top of the table with Newcastle at the start of the season, did you have a gut feeling that this team was going to go all the way?
No. In all honesty, I think it's tougher to get that kind of feeling or that gauge when you've just joined a club. When I joined Newcastle in '95, I think it was Newcastle's second year in the Premier League. They'd done well previously, but then they had a whole lot of changes. They sold Nicol during the course of the previous season. They added Ferdinand Ginola, Warren Barton. So there was a lot of buzz, but you never quite know good enough to challenge. Well, certainly that season was Manchester United. And as I think about it, every time you join a new club and there are new additions, you're never quite sure how it's all going to come together, because it's your first time there and you don't know some of the other guys. And then you're pleasantly surprised. After that, I think, second and third season, you kind of get a better feeling for the place, a better feeling for the club and exactly how good or how bad you'll be.
Shaka, when you played against Leeds, how was the nightlife around West Yorkshire?
I never went out in West Yorkshire, Daniel. So I don't know.
It's I tell you what,
Hey, that's only because the boss went straight home after the game. That's why.
That was it.
That's right. I did, Stephen. I did.
I've been out in West Yorkshire quite a lot, and I tell you, the price of a pint is a lot cheaper than it is, say, around Gab's area, which we were discussing before. is what, Gab? £6.50? What's that? $8.50?
It's £6.75 actually.
Wow.
You live in Buckingham Palace?
I never know a score. No, you know what it is I don't know if it's a pandemic or whatever, but obviously you have to factor in table service and whatnot, and people have higher costs these days.
Imagine Stevie being charged £6.75 for a pint.
Honestly. Hey, when I started going to the pub, it was 50 pence a pint.
Back in the day. I still love the thought of Stevie.
Back in the day.
Stevie at the airports where you've got to order on a tablet. I just can't imagine how you get away with that.
Yeah, I tell you, listen, the biggest problem when the planes are delayed, it's not the delay of the plane. It's what it's going to cost you.
Right.
Between then and getting actually on it. That's the problem.
Final question. Would any of you have considered having a man bun, as Leeds players seem to be required to have?
No.
There was some good hair, wasn't there, on the style?
No, none of it is good.
No?
No man bun is good.
You don't like it?
Honestly.
I think it should be illegal.
Man buns and elastic bands on your hair. I mean, really. And clips.
What a clips. Clips and hair bands.
Man buns are
Hold on a minute.
jailable. That should be a jailable offence.
Oh, Steve, you look lovely in a man bun. Gab?
I did try to grow my hair out years ago when I played rugby in college to appear scarier, but it just grows so freaking slowly. And when you tried to do it, it was just like this much hair, and like it just no. I could never pull it off, so I'm not going to criticize. Some people look appropriate. It is appropriate.
No, they don't.
It's just never appropriate for me.
No, they don't, Dan. No, they don't, Gab. There's never been an appropriate man bun. Never.
What if Cristiano wore a man bun? Would you be okay with
Cut
it?
it off. I would jail him as well.
I tell you what, Gab. It shouldn't be allowed.
Oh, God. Why should it be allowed, Stevie?
You got a man bun. If you got a man bun on the top of your head, right, how are you supposed to flick a ball on? Get stuck up in the man bun. I had a player, Shalry Joseph, played for the Revs. He used to put his hair up like that, like a pineapple on his head. So we had to move him because he used to go to the near post and flick it on. We had to move him because I'm like, there's no way you're going to be able to do it with that stupid thing on top of your head. So it shouldn't be allowed.
Grade 2.
Well, you know, if he styled it in the correct way, with like some kind of like, you know, scoop effect on top of his head, it might have actually made it easier for him.
Could you have put the ball on?
Could
it be like
no, you didn't think that way because Stevie, the thing is, you mock Liverpool's throw-in coach. You never considered perhaps having, you know, some sort of a follicular hair coach to help players with sophisticated hair.
See, you sound like a right journalist. I never mocked the throw-in coach.
Well, the
I never
notion
mocked
of
the throw-in coach. I didn't. I basically said you don't need a throw-in coach. I didn't mock the guy. I didn't call the guy names or make fun of him. I just said that the stuff he's doing is the same as people have been doing for years, for 10 and 20 years.
He called you a dinosaur, didn't he, Stevie? I believe.
Maybe he can help with the actual mechanics of taking a throw, but don't, you know, all this about the movement and all that. It's the same stuff.
But you know that's most of what he does, though.
For years.
Most of what he does is the mechanics of the throw. So like he like studies like the biomechanics and the way people go so that they can throw further and more accurately, I think.
All right, I get that, but journalists, I mean, Jules was saying, oh, you can see the work he's been doing with the players because this guy ducked and the other guy jumped over it and the third guy flipped it over the back of his head and then he put it in the net. You can see him been working on it. That's what actually got up my nose.
Okay, that's it. We are done. Thank you very much. A nice full circle in extra time today. We'll be back tomorrow for more. Until then, goodbye.
Oh,
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.